What if I told you that every single word you speak is literally rewriting your DNA and commanding your 70 trillion cells to either heal or destroy themselves? What if the secret to perfect health isn't hidden in some expensive treatment or miracle drug, but has been sitting right there in your throat, waiting for you to discover the ancient power of the sacred word? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Stay with me until the end of this revelation, because what you're about to discover might completely revolutionize how you think about your body, your health, and the incredible healing power that's been dormant within you all along. In the winter of 1538, in a forgotten crypt beneath the snow-covered monasteries of Salzburg, a brilliant physician and alchemist named Paracelsus wrote his final confession. Not with ink, but with the essence of his soul. This wasn't just another medical treatise. This was a forbidden grimoire containing the most dangerous secret ever discovered about the human body, that your flesh, your blood, your very cells respond to words with the obedience of faithful soldiers following their commander's orders. Has this ever happened to you? You wake up feeling perfectly fine, but then someone asks, "Are you feeling okay?" You look tired, and suddenly you actually start feeling exhausted? Or maybe, you've noticed how saying "I'm getting sick" seems to manifest actual symptoms within hours? What if I told you this isn't coincidence? This is your body's biological programming in action. Your physical body, according to Paracelsus' revolutionary discovery, acts as the most faithful scribe of your soul, translating every word you speak, every thought you nurture, and every emotion you feel into precise biological instructions that your cells execute without question. Think about this for a moment. Your liver doesn't know you're being dramatic when you say, "This job is killing me." It simply begins creating the biochemistry of destruction, because that's the command it received. Your heart doesn't understand metaphors when you declare, "I'm heartbroken." It starts producing stress hormones and inflammatory responses because your words became its marching orders. Your immune system doesn't recognize sarcasm when you joke, "I always get sick during the holidays." It literally starts preparing your body for illness because that's the blueprint you just uploaded into your cellular network. This isn't new age wishful thinking or positive psychology fluff. This is ancient wisdom backed by cutting-edge discoveries in epigenetics, neurobiology, and quantum physics. What Paracelsus understood 5 centuries ago, modern science is only now beginning to prove that consciousness doesn't just observe reality, it creates it, especially when it comes to the intricate dance between your mind and your body. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Your cells operate with a primitive but perfect intelligence. They don't reason, they don't judge, they don't question whether your commands make sense. They simply obey with the loyalty of devoted servants. When you speak words of limitation, they create limitation. When you declare words of healing, they mobilize every resource to create that healing reality. Right now, as you're watching this, your body is listening to every thought flowing through your consciousness and every word you've spoken today, translating them into biological commands that are actively reshaping your physical reality at the cellular level. The question isn't whether this is happening. The question is whether you're going to learn how to harness this incredible power consciously, or continue letting unconscious words and thoughts sabotage your health and vitality. What you're about to discover in this ancient wisdom will show you exactly how to speak to your body in the language it understands, how to give conscious commands that activate your natural healing mechanisms, and how to transform your relationship with your physical temple from unconscious destruction to deliberate regeneration. Because the truth that Paracelsus died protecting wasn't just about healing the body, it was about remembering that you are the conscious creator of your own biological reality, and your words are the sacred tools of that creation. The transformation begins the moment you understand that your body isn't just listening to your words, it's interpreting them with the precision of a master translator, converting every syllable into biological reality. Behind the scenes of your conscious awareness, this incredible translation process happens millions of times per day, and the hidden truth is that you've been unconsciously programming your cellular army with contradictory commands for years. Think about the impact of this revelation. When you place your left hand on your heart and your right hand on your solar plexus, you're not just touching your body, you're connecting with the command centers where emotional information gets converted into your body's chemistry. This ancient positioning creates a direct communication channel between your conscious mind and your cellular intelligence network. The breathing technique that Paracelsus discovered in those Egyptian monasteries isn't just about relaxation. When you breathe deeply, filling your belly first, then your chest, then your throat, you're creating a sacred pathway for life force energy to flow through your entire system. With each inhalation, you're absorbing what the ancients called prana, the fundamental energy that animates all living things. With each exhalation, you're releasing the accumulated emotional toxins that have been programming your cells with limitation and disease. But here's where the journey gets truly fascinating. Your 70 trillion cells operate with a primitive but absolutely perfect intelligence that puts any supercomputer to shame. These microscopic soldiers don't have the capacity for doubt, skepticism, or rational analysis. They don't question whether your commands make logical sense or whether they align with current medical understanding. They simply receive your orders and execute them with unwavering loyalty. When you consciously declare, "I am completely healthy," while performing this breathing ritual, something extraordinary happens behind the scenes of your biology. Your cellular army immediately mobilizes every available resource to create that reality. Your immune system activates its most powerful healing protocols. Your nervous system optimizes its repair mechanisms. Your endocrine system begins producing the exact hormonal cocktail needed to manifest perfect health. The mindset shift required here challenges everything you've been taught about how healing works. Instead of seeing your body as a machine that occasionally breaks down and needs external fixing, you begin to recognize it as an incredibly sophisticated biological computer that's constantly receiving and executing the programs you feed it through your words, thoughts, and conscious declarations. Your cells don't distinguish between a command given by a trained physician and a command given by you, the sovereign consciousness inhabiting this biological temple. They respond to authority, and when you speak with genuine conviction and understanding of your creative power, they recognize you as their legitimate commander. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and show you exactly what happened when a dying merchant named Johann discovered this secret and used it to completely reverse what doctors had declared an incurable condition. His transformation reveals the specific steps that allow anyone to reprogram their cellular reality, regardless of their current health challenges. Write in the comments, "My cells are listening to me right now." Johann Wise arrived at Paracelsus' doorstep, carrying a death sentence that he had unknowingly written himself. The wealthy merchant from Basel had spent years unconsciously programming his cellular army with the most destructive commands imaginable. Every day he would look in the mirror and declare, "I'm a cursed man," believing his body was betraying him when, in reality, his body was simply following the blueprint he'd been feeding it through his words. The hidden truth behind Johann's condition wasn't the cancer that doctors had diagnosed. It was the systematic self-sabotage he'd been practicing for decades. Behind the scenes of his conscious awareness, every negative declaration about his body had been translated into precise biological instructions. When he repeatedly said, "My body is rotting," he wasn't expressing frustration. He was programming cellular deterioration at the molecular level. The transformation journey that followed reveals something extraordinary about the power of conscious word reprogramming. Paracelsus taught Johann that his illness wasn't a medical condition requiring external intervention, but rather a communication problem between his conscious mind and his cellular intelligence. The real disease was Johann's ignorance about the creative power of his own voice. The mindset shift happened when Johann learned to speak to his body with what Paracelsus called loving authority, the tone of a wise king addressing his most faithful servants. Instead of cursing his temple, he began declaring its perfection. Instead of programming destruction, he started commanding regeneration. The impact was measurable and undeniable. complete healing in just 8 weeks, documented by the same physicians who had pronounced him terminal. But the revelations don't stop there. What Johann discovered about the power of conscious commands connects to something even more profound about how your body actually works. Your blood isn't simply a transport system moving nutrients and oxygen around your body. It's a conscious river carrying the decrees of your soul to every cell, tissue, and organ in your biological kingdom. Every single drop of blood flowing through your veins right now acts like a messenger, whispering to your organs the exact orders you've given through your words, thoughts, and emotions. Your blood doesn't distinguish between conscious commands and unconscious complaints. It simply delivers whatever information you've programmed into your system, creating your physical reality with ruthless precision. When you understand that your blood is essentially liquid consciousness carrying your mental and emotional programming throughout your body, everything changes. You realize that every circulation cycle, approximately every minute, your blood is updating every cell with the latest version of your self-concept, your health beliefs, and your life declarations. The journey from unconscious self-destruction to conscious creation begins when you recognize that your bloodstream is your body's internal communication network, and you are the broadcasting station. Your decisions about what to think, feel, and speak directly influence the quality of information flowing through this network, determining whether your cells receive messages of vitality or messages of deterioration. Now, I want to reveal exactly how one nobleman discovered that his blood had been carrying poisonous commands for years, and the specific technique he used to completely reprogram his cellular messaging system. Write in the comments, "My blood carries my soul's commands." Duchess Philippine of Tyrol had unknowingly become the architect of her own biological destruction. For months, she had been declaring to anyone who would listen that her blood was corrupted, that she could feel it poisoning her from within, that each heartbeat was carrying death to her organs. The impact of these declarations was devastating. Her body, ever obedient to her commands, had begun creating exactly the toxic reality she kept programming into her bloodstream. The transformation that followed reveals one of the most profound secrets hidden in Paracelsus' forbidden grimoire. When the Duchess learned to address her blood by its sacred name, Jaima So, meaning blood of life, something extraordinary happened behind the scenes of her biology. This wasn't just positive thinking or medieval superstition. This was a precise technique for reprogramming the consciousness that flows through her circulatory system. The journey from poisoned blood to perfect vitality took exactly 3 weeks, but the real revelation lies in understanding why this ancient naming practice works. Your blood carries memory. Every trauma, every joy, every declaration you've made gets encoded into the liquid matrix of your bloodstream like information stored on a biological hard drive. When you consciously rename your blood with its sacred designation, you're essentially formatting that hard drive and uploading new programming. But the hidden truth goes even deeper. Every element of your body, not just your blood, has a secret name that awakens its divine nature when spoken with genuine knowledge and authority. These aren't random words or mystical incantations. They're vibrational keys that unlock the highest potential of your biological systems, connecting your conscious mind directly with the intelligence that governs your cellular functions. The mindset shift required here challenges conventional thinking about how healing actually works. Instead of seeing your body parts as mechanical components that occasionally malfunction, you begin recognizing them as conscious entities with their own intelligence, waiting for the right commands to activate their perfect functioning. Your liver has a sacred name. Your heart has a sacred name. Your nervous system responds to specific vibrational frequencies that can restore its optimal performance. When Duchess Philippine spoke the words Jaima So with understanding rather than just pronunciation, she was acknowledging a fundamental truth. Her blood wasn't just a fluid transport system, but a sacred river connecting her soul to every cell in her body. This recognition transformed her relationship with her own biology from fear and suspicion to reverence and conscious partnership. The decisions you make about how to address your body, whether you curse it or consecrate it, directly influence the quality of communication flowing through your biological networks. Behind the scenes of your awareness, your organs are constantly listening for guidance, waiting for clear instructions about how to function. They respond to authority, and when you speak their sacred names with genuine understanding, they recognize you as their legitimate commander. Now, I want to explore what happens when these unconscious commands become toxic, and how the emotions you've been suppressing for years are literally creating chemical poisons that your faithful body stores in your tissues. Write in the comments, "I speak to my body with sacred authority." The golden blood visualization technique that saved Duchess Philippine's life reveals something extraordinary about the power of conscious imagery combined with sacred words. When you sit in lotus position with your palms placed directly on your heart, you're creating a direct energetic connection between your conscious mind and your circulatory command center. The transformation begins the moment you start visualizing your blood not as a red fluid, but as streams of golden light flowing through every vessel, artery, and capillary in your body. The impact of this visualization becomes profound when you understand what's happening behind the scenes. As you breathe deeply and declare, "Jaima So," divine life blood flowing through my veins, you're literally reprogramming the information matrix that your blood carries to every cell. Each conscious breath uploads new instructions into your biological network, overriding years of unconscious programming that may have been sabotaging your health. But the hidden truth about your blood's consciousness is just the beginning of a much deeper revelation. Your emotions aren't just fleeting psychological experiences, they're actual chemical commands that your body interprets and executes with ruthless precision. Every unexpressed emotion becomes a literal poison that your faithful body creates and stores in your tissues, following your unconscious orders to maintain whatever emotional state you've been feeding it. The journey from emotional toxicity to cellular purity requires understanding that repressed anger doesn't just disappear when you ignore it. Behind the scenes of your awareness, your body translates that suppressed rage into inflammation, liver dysfunction, and digestive problems. Your liver doesn't know you're trying to be polite by not expressing your frustration. It simply receives the chemical signature of anger and begins producing the biological compounds that match that emotional frequency. Hidden sadness follows the same devastating pattern. When you swallow your grief, push down your tears, and pretend everything is fine, your body interprets these decisions as commands to create the chemistry of depression. Your lungs, which are designed to release emotional toxins through breath, become repositories for unexpressed sorrow, leading to respiratory issues and the feeling that you can't breathe freely. Fear operates as perhaps the most destructive emotional poison because it creates a constant state of biological alarm. When you suppress your anxieties instead of acknowledging and releasing them, your nervous system receives ongoing instructions to maintain high alert status. The impact cascades through your entire system, creating chronic stress hormones that literally age your cells and weaken your immune response. The mindset shift required here challenges everything you've been taught about emotional management. Instead of stuffing your feelings down or pretending they don't exist, you begin recognizing that every emotion you refuse to feel becomes a chemical burden that your body must carry. Your organs become storage facilities for unexpressed emotional energy, creating physical symptoms that seem mysterious but are actually precise reflections of your emotional suppression patterns. Now, I want to reveal the specific technique that one Spanish noblewoman used to transmute 15 years of accumulated emotional poison, transforming both her devastated body and her tormented soul through conscious emotional alchemy. Write in the comments, "I release all emotional poisons from my body." Doña Catalina de Mendoza arrived at Paracelsus Mountain Refuge carrying a toxic legacy that had been eating her alive for 15 years. Her mysterious ulcers appeared and disappeared without medical explanation, but the master could see what no physician had detected. A venomous serpent of suppressed rage coiled around her heart, feeding on itself and poisoning every cell in her body. The night before her wedding, Her younger sister had seduced her fiancé, and Catalina had swallowed that betrayal whole, letting it ferment into a deadly emotional poison. The transformation that followed reveals the hidden truth about how suppressed emotions literally become chemical weapons that your body creates and stores in your tissues. Behind the scenes of Catalina's polite social facade, her unexpressed fury had been commanding her cells to produce inflammatory compounds for over a decade. Her body, ever faithful to her emotional commands, had been manufacturing the exact biochemistry of rage and storing it in her organs, creating the perfect environment for disease to flourish. The journey from emotional toxicity to cellular freedom began when Catalina learned the five-step transmutation process that Paracelsus had discovered in the forbidden manuscripts of St. Catherine's Monastery. The first decision she had to make was brutally honest, to recognize and specifically name every emotion she had buried. Not vague admissions like, "I'm angry," but precise declarations. "I feel burning rage toward my sister for her betrayal. I feel humiliation for being publicly ridiculized. I feel guilt for wishing her dead." The second phase of this emotional alchemy required giving conscious permission for her body to release the toxic chemicals it had been faithfully storing. Catalina placed her hands on each affected organ and spoke directly to her cellular servants. "My faithful body, I order you to release all the poison you've guarded in obedience. I no longer need these chemicals of pain. Release them with gratitude and create only the compounds of peace." But the real revelations came during the third phase, physical expression until complete release. This wasn't about thinking her way through emotions or analyzing them intellectually. Catalina had to scream her rage until her throat felt cleansed, cry her sadness until no tears remained, and tremble with fear until her nervous system naturally calmed. The impact was immediate and measurable. Her body began releasing the stored emotional toxins that had been creating her mysterious symptoms. The fourth step involved conscious chemical reprogramming. Once the poison was released, Catalina commanded her body to create new compounds. "Now manufacture the chemistry of compassion toward my sister, for she suffered consequences too. Create the chemicals of self-forgiveness, for I did my best with the wisdom I had. Produce the substances of renewed trust in my ability to discern genuine hearts." The mindset shift that made this transformation possible was understanding that she wasn't a victim of her emotions. She was the conscious director of her body's chemical factory. The daily reinforcement through power words completed the process, as Catalina learned to feed her cells new programming every morning. "Every cell vibrates with the compounds of peace. My skin regenerates with the chemistry of divine beauty. My blood flows with the elixirs of joy." Now I want to explore how your body follows geometric patterns that mirror the sacred laws of the universe, and what happens when trauma distorts these patterns into disease. Write in the comments, "I am the director of my body's chemistry," the five-step emotional liberation technique that transformed Doña Catalina's lifeworks, because it addresses the hidden truth that most people never discover. Your body is literally a storage facility for every emotion you've refused to feel. When you place your hands on affected organs and declare, "My faithful body, I order you to release all poison you've stored in obedience," you're not just speaking words into the air. You're giving direct commands to the cellular intelligence that has been patiently carrying your emotional burdens for years, waiting for permission to let them go. The transformation happens because your cells understand authority when they hear it. Behind the scenes of your conscious awareness, your organs have been creating and maintaining the exact chemical environment that matches your suppressed emotional states. The moment you consciously declare, "I no longer need these chemicals of pain," your biological systems begin the process of metabolizing and eliminating the toxic compounds they've been faithfully storing. But the revelations about emotional alchemy connect to something even more profound about how your body actually functions. Your physical form isn't just a collection of organs and tissues randomly assembled. It follows perfect geometric patterns that reflect the sacred mathematical laws governing the entire universe. The impact of this understanding revolutionizes everything you thought you knew about healing and disease. The Journey into Sacred Geometry reveals that your heart beats according to the golden spiral, the same pattern that governs galaxy formation and seashell growth. Your lungs expand in octagonal patterns that mirror the sacred geometry found in flower petals and crystal structures. Your liver pulses with hexagonal rhythms that reflect the molecular architecture of honeycombs and snowflakes. These aren't coincidences. They're evidence that your body is a living temple, built according to divine, mathematical principles. The mindset shift required here challenges conventional medical thinking completely. When trauma strikes or toxic thoughts persist, they don't just create emotional disturbance, they literally distort the geometric patterns that govern your biological functions. Disease appears when these sacred patterns become fragmented, like a beautiful symphony played with broken instruments. The hidden truth is that miraculous healing manifests when you consciously restore the geometric harmony that trauma has disrupted. Behind the scenes of every spontaneous healing, every unexplained recovery, every medical miracle, the same process is occurring: the restoration of perfect geometric patterns that allow your body to remember its divine blueprint. Your cells know how to create perfect health because they carry the mathematical codes of creation itself, but they need conscious direction to override the distorted patterns that trauma and negative programming have created. The decisions you make about how to visualize and direct your body's geometric patterns directly influence whether your organs function according to their sacred design or continue operating from the fragmented blueprints that create disease. Now, I want to reveal the specific visualization technique that one paralyzed merchant used to restore the sacred geometry of his spine, achieving what doctors declared impossible. Write in the comments, "My body follows sacred geometric patterns." Friedrich Weber's progressive paralysis began exactly 1 week after his father disowned him for refusing to follow the family business. The doctors of Nuremberg saw only mysterious muscle deterioration, but Paracelsus could perceive the real cause. The emotional shock had literally shattered the geometric patterns that governed Friedrich's life force, fragmenting the sacred architecture of his energy field like an invisible storm destroying a crystal palace. The transformation that followed reveals one of the most profound secrets hidden in the ancient healing arts. When you understand that your body is actually a projection of geometric patterns existing in subtle dimensions, everything changes. Friedrich's paralysis wasn't just a physical condition. It was his body faithfully manifesting the broken patterns that trauma had created in his energetic blueprint. Behind the scenes of his visible symptoms, his spine had lost its connection to the sacred geometric codes that normally coordinate movement and vitality. The journey back to wholeness began when Friedrich learned to visualize his spine not as a column of bone and cartilage, but as a golden ladder of light connecting earth to heaven. This wasn't just imaginative therapy, it was precise geometric reprogramming. Each morning at dawn, he would trace specific patterns with his hands over his body while declaring, "I restore the perfect geometry of my sacred temple." Every cell vibrates according to divine patterns. The hidden truth about this visualization technique lies in understanding that your spine functions as the central transmission tower for the geometric frequencies that organize your entire biological system. When Friedrich imagined perfect blue spirals emanating from each vertebra and extending throughout his body, he was literally uploading new architectural instructions to his cellular network, overriding the fragmented patterns that had been creating his paralysis. The impact was measurable and undeniable. After 7 days, Friedrich felt the first tingling sensations in his paralyzed legs. After 14 days, he could move his toes. After 21 days, he stood upright for the first time in 6 months. But the real revelation came when he realized that his recovery wasn't just about healing his body. He had discovered his ability to consciously direct the geometric patterns that create physical reality. The mindset shift required here challenges everything conventional medicine teaches about the nature of healing. Instead of seeing your body as a mechanical system that occasionally breaks down, you begin recognizing it as a living temple built according to mathematical principles that you can consciously influence. Your heart must beat according to the golden spiral. Your lungs must expand following octagonal sacred geometry, Your brain must vibrate in fractal patterns like crystals growing in the earth. The decisions you make about how to visualize and direct these geometric patterns determine whether your body functions according to its divine blueprint or continues operating from the distorted frequencies that create disease and dysfunction. Now, I want to explore the most powerful energy center in your body, your heart, and reveal why it functions not as a simple pump, but as an electromagnetic altar capable of healing everything around you. Write in the comments, "My spine is a golden ladder of light." Your heart isn't just pumping blood through your circulatory system. It's generating an electromagnetic field that's 5,000 times more powerful than your brain, making it the most influential energy center in your entire body. The hidden truth that modern cardiology completely misses is that every thought you think and every emotion you feel gets processed first by your heart before manifesting in your physical reality. Behind the scenes of your conscious awareness, your heart functions as an electromagnetic altar where your soul's intentions either harmonize into healing frequencies or clash into disease-creating interference. The transformation from heart disease to heart coherence begins when you understand that electromagnetic chaos in your chest isn't caused by external factors. It's created by the contradictions between your authentic values and your daily decisions. When you live in alignment with your heart's pure impulses, this organ generates harmonic electromagnetic waves that heal not only your body, but everything around you. When you betray your heart's wisdom, you create interference patterns that literally tear your cardiac muscle apart. Lorenzo de' Medici's story reveals the devastating impact of what Paracelsus called the divided heart syndrome. By day, Lorenzo was the pious benefactor of sacred arts, a respected patron who glorified divine beauty through his generous support of painters and sculptors. But the journey into his shadow revealed a different man entirely. By night, he transformed into Florence's most ruthless moneylender, destroying families with impossible loans and feeding on their desperation. The mindset that created Lorenzo's near-death experience was the belief that he could compartmentalize his life without consequences. Behind the scenes of his polite social facade, his heart was being subjected to electromagnetic warfare. During daylight hours, his cardiac center vibrated with the frequency of divine charity, generating coherent waves of compassion and generosity. But when darkness fell, the same heart was forced to pulse with the rhythms of greed and cruelty, creating an electromagnetic storm that was literally shredding his heart muscle fiber by fiber. The revelations about electromagnetic interference explain why Lorenzo's symptoms were so peculiar. His heart functioned normally during charitable activities, but became violently irregular every night when he engaged in usury. His body was responding to the electromagnetic chaos created by forcing his heart to serve two masters with completely opposite values. The decisions he made to live this double life weren't just morally questionable, they were electromagnetically impossible for his heart to sustain. The impact of this contradiction manifested as violent arrhythmias that awakened his entire household with their intensity. His heart, designed to be an altar of unconditional love, had been converted into a battlefield where opposing frequencies fought for dominance, creating the perfect conditions for cardiac destruction. Now, I want to reveal the specific ritual Lorenzo used to reunify his divided heart and restore the electromagnetic coherence that saved his life. Write in the comments, "My heart is an electromagnetic altar of love." The altar consecration ritual that saved Lorenzo's life reveals the hidden truth about how conscious intention can instantly reprogram your heart's electromagnetic field. When he placed both hands on his chest and declared, "My heart, sacred altar of my soul, I consecrate you again as temple of divine love," he wasn't just speaking pretty words. He was issuing direct commands to the most powerful electromagnetic generator in his body, ordering it to abandon the chaotic frequencies of contradiction and return to its natural state of coherent love. The transformation began immediately because Lorenzo's heart recognized the authority in his voice. Behind the scenes of this simple ritual, something extraordinary was happening. His cardiac, electromagnetic field, which had been generating interference patterns for years, suddenly began synchronizing into harmonic waves. Every beat became a prayer, every pulse a blessing, every rhythm a hymn of gratitude that radiated healing frequencies throughout his entire biological system. But the real breakthrough came through the cardiac coherence practice that Paracelsus taught him. Each morning before dawn, Lorenzo would sit in complete silence, with his hands positioned over his heart, consciously synchronizing his breath with his heartbeats. The specific pattern, breathing in for 5 beats, holding for 5 beats, exhaling for 5 beats, created electromagnetic coherence between his heart, brain, and entire nervous system. The journey from cardiac chaos to coherent harmony required understanding that this wasn't just a breathing exercise, it was advanced electromagnetic engineering. Behind the scenes of this simple practice, Lorenzo was literally tuning his heart's electrical field to broadcast on the frequency of unconditional love instead of the conflicting signals that had been tearing his cardiac muscle apart. The impact of this daily coherence practice extended far beyond Lorenzo's personal healing. His heart, now functioning as a purified electromagnetic altar, began radiating such powerful harmonious frequencies that people near him experienced spontaneous healings of their own heart problems. The decisions he made to live in complete alignment with his heart's pure impulses didn't just save his life, they transformed him into a living transmission tower of healing energy. The mindset shift that made this transformation possible was Lorenzo's recognition that he couldn't serve two masters without destroying himself electromagnetically. He had to choose, either live completely according to his heart's noble dictates, or abandon forever the activities that contradicted his soul's deepest values. That same night, he released all debts from the families he had ruined, converted his lending house into a hospital for the poor, and dedicated his remaining fortune to genuine charitable works. The revelations about heart coherence connect to something even more fundamental about how your body actually communicates with itself and the world around you. Now, I want to explore the most overlooked aspect of healing, how your breath functions as the sacred bridge between your immortal soul and your temporary physical form. Write in the comments, "I synchronize my breath with my heartbeat." Your breath is far more than a simple exchange of gases. It's the sacred vehicle that transports life force from divine planes directly to each physical cell in your body. The hidden truth that most people never discover is that every inhalation brings not just oxygen, but prana, pneuma, the very breath of God that animates inert matter and transforms it into living consciousness. When you breathe shallowly, you're not just limiting oxygen intake, you're disconnecting your spirit from your body, forcing your soul to wander like a homeless exile in the subtle planes, while your flesh temple operates on survival mode. The transformation that reveals this profound connection came through Margarita, a young woman whose trauma had literally severed the bridge between her immortal soul and her physical form. After surviving a wolf attack in the Carpathian Mountains, she lost both speech and mobility. But the real damage wasn't visible to any physician. Behind the scenes of her physical symptoms, her spirit had become disconnected from her body, unable to fully inhabit her flesh temple, because the trauma had shattered the breathing patterns that normally anchor the soul in matter. The journey back to wholeness began when Paracelsus recognized that Margarita wasn't possessed by demons, as the monks believed, but simply disconnected from the most sacred force available to human beings, the conscious breath that unites heaven and earth in the temple of the body. Her convulsions weren't signs of evil possession, but desperate attempts by her displaced soul to find its way back home to its physical dwelling. The mindset shift required understanding that breath isn't automatic. It's the conscious choice your soul makes moment by moment to inhabit your body fully or to withdraw into spiritual exile. Through the specific sacred ratio of 8 heartbeats for inhalation, 4 heartbeats to retain, and 8 heartbeats for exhalation, Margarita's soul began remembering the way back to complete embodiment. The impact of this rhythmic breathing pattern was immediate and measurable. Behind the scenes of this simple technique, something extraordinary was occurring. Her spirit was literally learning to use breath as a golden thread, weaving itself back into the fabric of her physical form. The decisions her soul made with each conscious breath determined whether it would continue wandering in the ethereal realms or commit to fully animating her body. The revelations about conscious breathing extend far beyond individual healing. When you understand that every inhalation is an invitation you extend to your spirit to inhabit your body more completely, and every exhalation is an offering you make to the universe of everything you no longer need, you begin to grasp the true power of this ancient practice. Now, I want to explore something that will completely revolutionize how you think about the creative power dwelling in your throat, the sacred word that literally commands reality into existence. Write in the comments, "My breath is the bridge between soul and body." The 4 sacred breaths that restored Margarita's soul to her body reveal a complete system for conscious embodiment that most people never learn. The first breath, the grounding breath, creates roots of golden light extending from your base into the earth's core, anchoring your spirit firmly in physical reality. The second breath, the elevation breath, draws a silver cord of light from your crown to the stars, connecting your body to the higher planes where your soul naturally dwells. The transformation happens when you understand that these aren't just visualization exercises, they're actual energetic technologies for establishing conscious communication between different dimensions of your being. The third breath, the expansion breath, opens your heart like a flower embracing the entire universe, dissolving the illusion of separation between yourself and everything that exists. The fourth breath, the integration breath, creates a conscious circuit connecting your 3 primary power centers, your brain, your heart, and your belly, unifying them into one living temple where divine intelligence can operate through human form. The journey from fragmented existence to integrated wholeness requires understanding that breath is the vehicle your soul uses to establish sovereignty over matter. Behind the scenes of these breathing practices, you're literally teaching your spirit how to inhabit your body with complete authority instead of hovering around it like an uncertain visitor. The decisions you make about breathing consciously or unconsciously determine whether you live as a fully embodied divine being or as a displaced soul barely connected to its physical form. But the revelations about conscious breathing connect to something even more profound: the ultimate creative power that dwells in your throat. The spoken word is the same force that God used to manifest the universe, and that identical creative energy resides in every human throat, waiting to be awakened through conscious understanding and absolute conviction. The mindset shift required here challenges everything you've been taught about the relationship between words and reality. When you speak with complete certainty and soul-backed authority, your throat literally becomes the workshop where spirit forges physical reality through conscious decree. Behind the scenes of ordinary conversation, this miraculous process is always occurring, but most people remain unconscious of their creative power and accidentally manifest limitation instead of abundance. The impact of awakened speech is immediate and undeniable. Your cells don't distinguish between words spoken by trained physicians and words spoken by you. They respond to authority, conviction, and the electromagnetic frequency of absolute certainty. When you learn to speak with the power of your awakened soul rather than the doubt of your conditioned mind, your throat becomes an instrument of conscious creation. Now, I want to reveal the incredible story of a blind merchant who discovered that his physical blindness was actually a gift that taught him to see with the eyes of his soul and speak with unprecedented healing power. Write in the comments, "My throat is a workshop of conscious creation." The 3 levels of word power that Paracelsus discovered in the Egyptian temples reveal why most people's speech has no creative impact on their physical reality. Sleeping words, the unconscious chatter that fills most conversations, carry no soul force behind them, making them powerless to influence matter. These are the words that people speak automatically, without awareness or intention, like background noise that their cells learn to ignore completely. Awakened words represent the next level, conscious speech backed by emotional power that can influence thoughts and feelings but lacks the unified force necessary to transform physical matter. Most people who discover the power of positive thinking operate at this level, creating some mental and emotional shifts but remaining frustrated when their words don't produce tangible healing results. The transformation happens when you access ignited words, speech that emerges from the complete unification of your soul, heart, and throat, speaking with divine authority capable of commanding cells and ordering complete regeneration. Behind the scenes of this ultimate level of creative speech, your entire being operates as one instrument of conscious manifestation, with no internal contradiction or doubt weakening your creative commands. Hans Zimmermann's journey from blindness to unprecedented healing power illustrates this progression perfectly. After losing his sight in a gunpowder explosion, Hans initially despaired, believing his life was over. But the hidden truth about his condition emerged when Paracelsus helped him recognize that his physical blindness was actually a disguised gift that would teach him to see with the eyes of his soul. The mindset shift occurred when Hans realized that his inability to see material appearances meant he could no longer be distracted by the superficial illusions that normally cloud human perception. His blindness forced him to develop soul vision, the ability to perceive the energetic truth behind physical symptoms, the emotional causes behind disease, patterns, the spiritual reality that exists beneath material appearances. The impact of this enhanced perception was extraordinary. Hans discovered that when you speak without being influenced by what your physical eyes show you, your words carry unprecedented authority. His throat, no longer conflicted by the contradictions between what he saw and what he knew to be spiritually true, became a pure channel for divine creative force. The decisions Hans made about how to use his new gift determined the trajectory of his transformation. Instead of mourning his lost sight, he embraced the enhanced spiritual vision that blindness had awakened. His words, now spoken with the absolute conviction of someone who sees truth rather than appearances, began manifesting healing miracles that astonished everyone around him. Now I want to explore the specific technique Hans used to command his own cellular regeneration and how his words literally rewrote the genetic instructions in his optical nerves. Write in the comments, "I speak with ignited words of divine authority." The regeneration decree that Hans used to restore his vision reveals the precise mechanism by which ignited words reprogram cellular reality. Each morning at sunrise, he would place his hands on his closed eyes and create a conscious connection between his throat, heart, and soul through synchronized breathing. This wasn't just a hopeful ritual, it was advanced biological programming using the most sophisticated technology available to human beings, unified consciousness speaking with absolute authority. The transformation began when Hans declared with unwavering conviction, "I am the light illuminating my own eyes. I order complete regeneration of my optical nerves. I decree my sight restored more perfect than before." Behind the scenes of this simple declaration, something extraordinary was occurring. His words, backed by the full force of his unified being, were literally rewriting the genetic instructions in his damaged optical nerves, commanding them to rebuild according to their original divine blueprint. The impact was measurable and undeniable. Within 7 days, Hans began perceiving lights where absolute darkness had reigned. Within 14 days, he could distinguish shapes and forms. Within 21 days, his right eye functioned perfectly. Within 40 days, both eyes not only worked flawlessly, but possessed enhanced capabilities that surpassed his original vision. He could now see auras, detect diseases through energy patterns, and read the deepest thoughts reflected in people's eyes. But the revelations about conscious cellular regeneration connect to something even more profound, about the nature of healing itself. Consciousness is the only true medicine, because it's the only force capable of creating both disease and perfect health. Behind the scenes of every illness, every recovery, every miracle cure, consciousness is the decisive factor, determining whether your body manifests limitation or perfection. The journey from fragmented existence to integrated wholeness requires understanding that when your consciousness splits between contradictory social masks and conflicting identities, your body fragments too, with each disconnected piece developing its own specific ailments. The hidden truth about most chronic diseases is that they represent the physical manifestation of consciousness that has been divided against itself for years or decades. The mindset shift required here challenges everything conventional medicine teaches about the causes of illness. Instead of looking for external pathogens or genetic defects, you begin recognizing that disease emerges when different aspects of your personality create contradictory biological commands. Your body becomes confused, receiving conflicting orders from the various masks you wear in different situations, resulting in the cellular chaos that manifests as symptoms. The decisions you make about living authentically versus maintaining false personas directly determine whether your body operates as one unified temple or as a collection of conflicted parts fighting against each other. Now, I want to explore the remarkable case of a noblewoman who lived as 7 different personalities, and how this fragmentation created 7 distinct diseases in her single body. Write in the comments, "My consciousness is my ultimate medicine." Isabel de Montmorency arrived at Paracelsus Refuge as a living medical mystery, a single woman harboring 7 distinct diseases that defied all conventional diagnosis. Behind the scenes of her aristocratic composure, she had been unconsciously operating as 7 different people, each with its own beliefs, fears, and biological programming. Her heart suffered from the arrhythmias of contradiction as she shifted between being the perfect court lady who repressed all natural spontaneity and the passionate lover who betrayed her deepest values. The transformation began when Paracelsus recognized that Isabel wasn't suffering from multiple diseases. She was experiencing the physical manifestation of a consciousness so fragmented that each personality had literally created its own illness pattern. Her liver inflamed with the rage she accumulated as the implacable mistress, denying her natural compassion. Her lungs contracted from the suffocation she felt as the submissive wife, suppressing her superior intelligence. Her stomach rejected food when she played the sacrificing mother, forgetting her own essential needs. The journey from fragmented existence to integrated wholeness required understanding that each false personality she had created was actually a protective mechanism that had outlived its usefulness. The consciousness unification process that saved Isabel's life began with the most challenging step, identifying and specifically naming each mask she had been wearing to survive in different situations. The mindset shift occurred when Isabel realized that thanking each personality fragment for its protective service, while declaring her freedom from these masks, wasn't about destroying parts of herself. It was about reclaiming the energy that had been scattered across multiple false identities. Behind the scenes of this dialogue process, something extraordinary was happening. Each time she consciously released a persona, her body stopped creating the specific disease pattern associated with that fragmented aspect of her consciousness. The impact was immediate and measurable. As Isabel connected with her authentic essence, the pure consciousness that existed before she created all these protective personalities, her organs began functioning in harmony for the first time in decades. The decisions she made about living solely from her unified consciousness, regardless of social consequences, determined whether she would continue as a collection of conflicted fragments or emerge as one integrated being. The revelations about consciousness fragmentation connect to every person watching this, because we all wear different masks in different situations. The hidden truth is that your body doesn't understand social appropriateness. It only knows how to respond to the contradictory biological commands created by your various personas. Now, I want to explore an ancient practice that seems impossible to modern thinking: how conscious fasting can actually nourish your body more powerfully than any physical food. Write in the comments, "I am ready to unify my consciousness." Sister Agatha's discovery at the Benedictine convent challenges everything modern science believes about human nutrition and cellular survival. During her 40-day conscious fast, she lost only 3 pounds while her body underwent a remarkable transformation that defied all biological logic. Her skin acquired the luminous texture of polished pearl, her eyes became crystalline clear like mountain springs, and her energy levels surpassed anything she had experienced in decades of normal eating. The hidden truth behind Agatha's miraculous sustenance lies in understanding that your cells possess the ability to absorb nutrition directly from the primordial source that animates all life. Behind the scenes of her physical fasting, something extraordinary was occurring. Her body was learning to feed on pure light energy, bypassing the normal digestive process entirely and accessing the fundamental force that creates and maintains all organic matter. The transformation began when Agatha discovered that conscious fasting isn't about depriving your body. It's about teaching your cells to remember their original source of nourishment. The journey from physical dependency to spiritual sustenance requires understanding that every time you eat unconsciously, you're sending your body the message that it's a mortal organism, dependent on external substances for survival. The mindset shift that made this possible was recognizing that her body had forgotten its divine nature through decades of programming that equated survival with material consumption. The inner sun technique that sustained Agatha throughout her fast involved directing conscious attention to her solar plexus, visualizing this energy center as a golden sun radiating nutritious light to every cell in her body. The impact of this visualization was immediate and measurable. When physical hunger arose, instead of interpreting it as a signal of cellular starvation, Agatha would declare with absolute conviction, "My spirit nourishes my body. Eternal light flows to my cells." Behind the scenes of this simple declaration, her solar plexus would actually begin generating and distributing the life force energy that her cells needed for optimal functioning. The decisions Agatha made about trusting her body's ability to sustain itself from spiritual sources rather than material food determined whether she would experience the soul fasting as deprivation or as liberation from the illusion of physical dependency. The revelations from her experience proved that your body was designed to be immortal, capable of sustaining itself indefinitely from the same source that maintains the stars and planets. Now I want to explore the ultimate practice that combines all these teachings, the nightly death and resurrection ritual, that can literally reverse aging and restore your body to any biological age you consciously choose. Write in the comments, "My cells can feed on pure light energy." Master Cornelius van Bergen appeared to be 30 years old when he met Paracelsus, but the hidden truth about this mysterious Flemish alchemist was that he had been practicing the daily resurrection ritual for over a century. His secret wasn't avoiding death, it was consciously dying and being reborn every single night, transforming sleep from unconscious rest into active regeneration, where his body literally rebuilt itself according to divine specifications. The transformation that made this possible required understanding that what we call sleep is actually the soul's natural opportunity to liberate itself from material limitations and access the higher planes where perfect templates of everything exist. Behind the scenes of ordinary unconscious sleep, your spirit normally wanders aimlessly in dreams and fragmentary experiences, but Cornelius had learned to use these hours for conscious reconstruction of his entire physical form. The journey into daily resurrection begins with the ancient Egyptian dissolution formula that Cornelius discovered in the underground temples of Alexandria. Each night, lying in perfect cross position with arms extended, he would recite the sacred invocations, Keper Ra, Keper Kipon, meaning, "The one who becomes in all forms," while visualizing his body dissolving into particles of golden light that ascended toward the celestial realms. The mindset shift required here challenges everything modern thinking accepts about the fixed nature of physical form. Instead of seeing your body as a solid, unchangeable structure that inevitably deteriorates with time, you begin recognizing it as a temporary configuration of energy that can be consciously dissolved and reconstructed according to whatever pattern you choose to access in the higher dimensions. The impact of this nightly practice was extraordinary, as Cornelius's consciousness expanded beyond his physical boundaries during the dissolution phase. He could perceive his body as it truly was, not solid matter, but organized light temporarily maintaining human form. In those elevated states, he could contemplate the perfect divine template of his physical vehicle, seeing it exactly as it was originally conceived in the mind of the Creator, without disease, without aging, without any of the distortions accumulated through decades of incorrect thinking. The decisions Cornelius made about which template to use for reconstruction determined not only his health, but his apparent age. The revelations from his practice prove that aging isn't an inevitable biological process. It's simply the result of reconstructing your body each night, according to the same worn-out pattern, instead of accessing the perfect blueprint that exists eternally in the higher planes. Now, I want to reveal the specific reconstruction decree that allows you to consciously choose your biological age and manifest that reality in your physical form. Write in the comments, "I consciously dissolve and reconstruct my body." The conscious reconstruction decree that Cornelius used to rebuild his body each night reveals the precise mechanism by which human consciousness can override biological programming and manifest any physical reality it chooses. After completing the dissolution phase and contemplating the perfect divine template in the higher planes, he would issue specific commands with the absolute conviction of someone who understands their creative authority. My body renews according to the perfect pattern. All disease, all aging, all corruption is expelled from my body temple. The transformation that occurred during this reconstruction phase wasn't wishful thinking or positive visualization. It was advanced biological engineering using consciousness as the primary tool. Behind the scenes of this simple declaration, Cornelius's spirit was literally downloading new instructions from the perfect template and uploading them into his physical form, overriding decades of accumulated cellular damage and restoring his body to whatever biological age he chose to manifest. The impact of speaking these words with unwavering certainty created immediate cellular response. His body, recognizing the authority in his voice and the clarity of his intention, began rebuilding itself according to the divine specifications rather than the worn-out patterns that had been creating deterioration. The decisions he made about which aspects of the perfect template to emphasize determined whether he woke up with enhanced strength, improved appearance, or completely healed organs. But the revelations about conscious reconstruction connect to something even more profound about human nature itself. Every person carries within themselves a sacred wedding that's waiting to be consummated, the eternal marriage between immortal spirit and obedient matter. This isn't poetic metaphor. It's the fundamental relationship that determines whether you experience life as integrated wholeness or fragmented conflict. The journey toward this inner marriage requires understanding that disease doesn't arise from external pathogens or genetic defects. It emerges when you live in perpetual war between your heavenly aspirations and your earthly attachments. Behind the scenes of most chronic illnesses, you'll find a consciousness torn between what it knows to be spiritually true and what it believes to be materially necessary for survival. The mindset shift that enables the alchemical marriage involves recognizing that your spirit and your body aren't separate entities competing for control. They're designed to function as unified partners in conscious creation. When your immortal essence marries your physical form through conscious intention, your body becomes a temple where infinite intelligence can operate through finite matter. Now, I want to explore how this sacred marriage transforms not only your individual health, but creates the foundation for understanding the ultimate purpose of all these ancient teachings. Write in the comments, "I am ready for my sacred inner marriage." Isabella de' Medici's inner wedding ceremony reveals the specific technique that allows any person to consummate the sacred marriage between spirit and matter within their own being. When she placed her right hand on her heart and left hand on her belly, she was creating a conscious connection between the two primary energy centers that govern human existence: the heart where divine love enters your being, and the belly where earthly power accumulates and transforms. The transformation began when Isabella breathed deeply and declared with complete conviction, "I am heaven descending and earth ascending. Within me, the sacred marriage of opposites is consummated." Behind the scenes of this simple ritual, something extraordinary was occurring. Golden light representing her divine nature began descending from above, while silver light representing her earthly essence started ascending from below, meeting and merging in her heart center, where all duality dissolves into unified wholeness. The impact of this conscious unification was immediate and life-changing. Isabella's body, which had been torn apart by the conflict between spiritual aspirations and material attachments, suddenly began functioning as one integrated temple. The decisions she made about embracing both her heavenly and earthly natures, rather than choosing one over the other, determined whether she would continue living in internal warfare or emerge as a unified being. But the revelations about this inner marriage connect to the ultimate truth that Paracelsus spent his entire life trying to convey. Real alchemy isn't about transmuting base metals into gold. It's about transfiguring divided consciousness into perfect unity. The hidden truth behind all the ancient alchemical texts is that the laboratory is your own being, the chemicals are your thoughts and emotions, and the gold you're seeking to create is the unified consciousness that recognizes no separation between spirit and matter. The journey toward true alchemical mastery requires understanding that when you achieve this inner marriage, you realize you were never a being who possesses a body. You discover that you are a living temple where the infinite becomes finite, where consciousness takes form, where the eternal expresses itself through the temporary. The mindset shift from ownership to embodiment changes everything about how you relate to your physical existence. Behind the scenes of this realization, your entire relationship with healing transforms. You stop trying to fix a broken body and start recognizing yourself as the conscious architect of your physical reality. You understand that every cell in your temple is waiting for instructions from the unified consciousness that you've become through this sacred marriage. Now I want to reveal the ultimate purpose of all these teachings and how they prepare you for the final mystery that Paracelsus discovered before his own transformation. Write in the comments, "I am a living temple of unified consciousness." Marcus von Hockenheim arrived at Paracelsus' door, carrying the desperate hope of saving his dying father, but the journey that followed taught him something far more profound than any healing technique. The transformation that occurred wasn't about extending his father's physical life. It was about awakening Marcus to the ultimate truth that we are immortal beings, having a mortal experience, not mortal beings desperately aspiring to immortality. The hidden truth that emerged through his father's peaceful transition revealed the real legacy that these ancient teachings are designed to preserve. Behind the scenes of what appeared to be death, Wilhelm von Hockenheim was actually demonstrating the consciousness expansion that occurs when an awakened soul consciously releases its temporary physical form. The decisions Marcus made about how to interpret this transition determined whether he would see it as tragic loss or as graduation to a greater reality. The mindset shift that changed everything for Marcus was recognizing that the true power of the sacred word isn't about preventing physical death. It's about awakening the consciousness of what never departs. His father's final words weren't a goodbye, but a transmission of understanding. "Son, I am not this body that's failing. I am the eternal light that chose this experience to remember itself. Death is not departure, it's homecoming." The impact of this revelation extends far beyond individual healing into the ultimate purpose of all human existence. Every dawn that breaks offers you a rebirth opportunity. Every conscious word you speak wields creative power that ripples through the entire universe. Every act of love you perform contributes to the healing of the world. Behind the scenes of your daily life, you are participating in a cosmic awakening, where consciousness is remembering its own divine nature through human experience. The journey that began with learning to command your cells through sacred words culminates in understanding that the sacred word isn't something you learn. It's something you remember. It has always been your most intimate nature, the very essence of who you are beneath all the layers of conditioning and forgetting. The revelations contained in Paracelsus' forbidden grimoire aren't introducing foreign concepts but awakening dormant memories of your true identity as a conscious creator. Now I want to reveal how this awakening transforms you from a seeker of healing into a guardian of these sacred mysteries, carrying the responsibility of using this ancient wisdom to serve the greater awakening of humanity. Write in the comments, "I remember my sacred word nature." The transformation you've experienced by staying with me through this entire journey reveals something profound about your readiness to embrace these ancient mysteries. You're not here by accident. Your soul guided you to this knowledge because you're meant to be one of the guardians of these sacred teachings in our modern world. If you felt the resonance of these revelations awakening something deep within your consciousness, then you understand that this isn't just information. It's a transmission of remembrance that your cells have been waiting to receive. The fact that you've absorbed all 40 of these sacred principles shows that you're ready to step into your role as a conscious creator of your physical reality. I'd love to have you join our community of awakened souls who are practicing these techniques and sharing their transformations. Subscribe to this channel because the journey we've begun together is just the opening movement of a much larger symphony. There are so many more forbidden texts to explore, ancient techniques to master, and mysteries to unveil that can revolutionize not just your health, but your entire understanding of what it means to be human. If you made it all the way to this moment, leave a comment saying, "I remember who I am," so I know you received the full transmission. Your presence here creates a field of consciousness that helps these teachings reach other souls who are ready to awaken. And if you felt that spark of recognition as these words touched something eternal within you, a simple, like on this video, sends that energy out into the world, helping these sacred mysteries find their way to others who need them. There's a video right here that reveals another forbidden manuscript, this one about the secret language your dreams use to heal your body while you sleep. The techniques you'll discover there will perfectly complement everything you've learned today about conscious creation and cellular communication. Click and continue with me over there, because your journey into the deepest mysteries of human potential is just beginning.